All right, so let's dive into something I think we all think we kind of understand, intelligence.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what if I told you that the way we've been thinking about it, like some sort of horsepower measurement in one specific part of the brain
Yeah.
is totally off?
Yeah, it's a fascinating shift in perspective, right? We're moving away from this idea of like a single intelligence center in the brain.
Right.
And we're starting to see it as like a product of the entire brain.
The whole thing.
Yeah, working together.
So this deep dive is all about a study published in PNAS Nexus
Okay.
that really kind of shakes things up.
Right. Yeah.
They used fMRI scans to look at the brains of over 800 people.
Wow. That's
And get this,
odd.
they didn't just look at activity during tasks. They also scanned brains at rest.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's a key difference from a lot of previous research. By looking at both the active and resting states, they were able to study the underlying communication networks of the brain,
Yeah.
the so-called neural code.
Oh, yeah, neural code.
That governs how different regions interact.
Okay, neural code.
Yeah.
Sounds super sci-fi.
Right.
What does that actually mean?
Well, think of it like this. The brain has its own language, right?
Okay.
It has a way of sending signals and information back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
This study was trying to crack that code to see if they could find patterns in brain activity that correlated with different levels of intelligence.
So instead of just looking for the smartest part of the brain,
Right.
you're looking at how well all the parts are talking to each other.
Exactly.
Oh.
And what they found
Yeah.
was that the number and distribution of connections throughout the brain
Oh, wow.
were the biggest predictors of intelligence,
Interesting.
not the activity in any one specific location.
So it's less about having a supercharged engine and more about having a really efficient highway system connecting all the different parts of the city.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
It really highlights the shift in understanding.
Yeah.
And, for years, research has focused on areas like the prefrontal cortex,
Right.
seeing it as the key to higher level thinking.
Like that was the brain's CEO or something.
Yeah, exactly. But this research suggests that while the prefrontal cortex is important, it's the connections it forms with other regions that really drive intelligence.
Okay.
It's more of a collaborative network than a top-down hierarchy.
So someone could have a really active prefrontal cortex.
Yeah.
But if it's not well connected to the rest of the brain,
Right.
it's not going to translate to high intelligence.
That's what this research seems to indicate.
Wow.
And it's pretty groundbreaking.
Okay, so now before we get too far into the weeds,
Okay.
they looked at 3 different types of intelligence in this study.
Right.
Fluid,
Yeah.
crystallized,
Uh-huh.
and general intelligence.
Yeah.
Can we break those down quickly for our listeners?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Fluid intelligence is your ability to think on your feet,
Okay.
solve novel problems,
Yeah.
think logically, like figuring out a puzzle or learning a new skill quickly.
Okay, so that's fluid.
Yeah.
What about crystallized intelligence?
Crystallized intelligence is more about your accumulated knowledge and skills.
Okay.
It's the information you've learned and stored over time.
Right.
Vocabulary, facts, experiences.
Like stuff you've picked up.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the difference between having a sharp mind, that can tackle new challenges,
Yeah.
versus having this vast library of knowledge to draw from.
Got it.
Yeah.
And general intelligence.
Yeah.
Is kind of the combination of those two.
You could think of it that way, yeah.
Okay.
It's often considered a measure of overall cognitive ability.
Okay.
And what's really intriguing is that in this study, general intelligence was the most predictable, based on those whole brain connections we were talking about.
So the more connected your brain,
Yeah.
the higher your general intelligence is likely to be.
It seems that way.
That makes me wonder
Yeah.
if it also points to a greater potential for adaptability, for learning and growing.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it gets to the heart of why this research is so exciting.
Yeah.
It suggests that intelligence might be more malleable than we thought.
Right.
That it's not just this fixed trait you're born with.
We often hear about people having a gift for languages or math.
Right.
But if intelligence is more about connections, could that mean that anyone could develop those skills with the right kind of training or practice?
It's certainly a possibility.
Wow.
Yeah, this research opens up a whole new avenue for exploring how we learn and how we might be able to enhance our cognitive abilities.
It's like we've been focusing on upgrading the individual parts of a computer,
Uh-huh.
when what really matters is optimizing the operating system.
Right.
Making sure everything is running smoothly and efficiently.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
And what's also fascinating is that this study delves into how these connections actually form in the brain.
Okay.
They used a specific type of fMRI analysis called diffusion tensor imaging
Oh, boy.
to track the movement of water molecules along nerve fibers.
Okay. I'm going to need you to break that down for me.
Sure.
How does tracking water molecules tell us anything about intelligence?
Well, it's actually pretty ingenious.
Okay.
Water molecules tend to move more easily along the length of a nerve fiber than across it.
Okay.
So by tracking their movement,
Yeah.
researchers can map out the pathways of these fibers and create a sort of wiring diagram of the brain.
So it's like tracing the roots of all the cables in a complex electrical grid.
Precisely.
Got it.
And by analyzing these pathways, they were able to see how different regions of the brain were connected
Okay.
and how those connections related to different aspects of intelligence.
That makes me think about the nature versus nurture debate. Are we born with these brain pathways already laid out? Or do they develop over time based on our experiences and environment?
It's likely a combination of both.
Okay.
We certainly have a genetic blueprint that influences our brain development,
Right.
but our experiences and interactions with the world also shape those connections.
That's where things get really interesting for me.
Yeah.
If we can understand how those connections are formed and strengthened,
Yeah.
could we potentially intervene to boost cognitive development in children? Or help adults maintain their mental sharpness as they age?
It's an area ripe for exploration.
Wow.
Yeah. There's already a lot of research being done on how things like exercise, diet, and mental stimulation
Right.
can impact brain health.
Yeah.
But this study provides a whole new framework for understanding how those interventions might work at a neural level.
It's almost like we're moving from a black box understanding of the brain to being able to see the circuitry, the wiring that makes it all work.
And that's incredibly exciting for the future of neuroscience and cognitive enhancement.
So we've been talking a lot about the positive implications of this research,
Right.
but I also want to touch on the potential downsides.
Sure.
Anytime we start talking about enhancing intelligence, there are ethical considerations to keep in mind.
Absolutely. It's crucial that we approach this research responsibly and thoughtfully.
Yeah.
One potential concern is the idea of creating a sort of intelligence gap where those with access to certain resources or technologies might have an unfair advantage over others.
Like a scenario where wealthy individuals can afford brain-boosting treatments that aren't accessible to everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah, that could exacerbate existing inequalities.
Right.
And create a whole new set of social problems.
It's a valid concern.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that any advancements in cognitive enhancement are distributed equitably.
Right.
And don't contribute to further social stratification.
And what about the potential for misuse? Could this research be used to develop technologies that manipulate or control people's thoughts and behaviors?
It's a question we need to grapple with.
Yeah.
As with any powerful technology, there's always the potential for abuse.
Right.
It's important to have ethical guidelines in place and to engage in open and honest conversations about the potential risks and benefits of cognitive enhancement.
This is why it's so crucial to involve ethicists and social scientists in this research from the very beginning.
Absolutely.
We need to think carefully about the potential societal impacts.
Yeah.
And ensure that we're using this knowledge for good.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's not just about advancing scientific understanding.
Right.
It's about using that knowledge to create a better future for everyone.
Well, I think that's a great point to transition to the big picture.
Okay.
Can we recap the key takeaways from this study?
Absolutely. First and foremost, this research challenges the traditional view of intelligence as being localized to a specific region of the brain.
Okay.
It highlights the importance of connectivity, the intricate network of pathways that allow different brain regions to communicate and work together.
So it's not just about having a powerful engine.
Right.
It's about having a well-maintained and efficient road system connecting all parts of the city.
That's a great way to put it.
And the study also found that general intelligence, which encompasses both fluid and crystallized intelligence, is the most predictable based on those whole brain connections.
Meaning that those with more interconnected brains tend to perform better across a range of cognitive tasks.
Right.
From problem solving to learning new information.
And perhaps most importantly, this research opens up exciting new possibilities for understanding how we learn and how we might be able to enhance our cognitive abilities.
Whether it's through targeted training programs, lifestyle interventions, or even future technologies This study provides a roadmap for exploring the untapped potential of the human brain.
I find it incredibly inspiring to think that we're not limited by some fixed notion of intelligence, that our brains are adaptable and capable of growth throughout our lives.
It's a powerful message of hope and possibility.
Yeah, it really is. And, it makes you wonder if, our current education systems are really set up to optimize this whole brain connectivity.
That's an interesting thought. Yeah.
Right.
We tend to focus on rote memorization and really compartmentalized subjects.
Yeah.
But maybe we should be encouraging more interdisciplinary learning.
Right.
Yeah. More creative problem solving, more activities that kind of challenge the brain to make connections across different domains.
Instead of just learning historical facts.
Right.
Maybe we should be asking students to think about how those events shaped current society.
Yeah.
Draw parallels and analyze patterns to connect the dots in a more holistic way.
Exactly. It's about fostering a deeper understanding of how different pieces of knowledge fit together,
Yeah.
how they relate to the bigger picture.
Right.
And that kind of thinking is what drives innovation and progress, in any field.
It also makes me think about aging and cognitive decline.
Right.
We've always assumed that a certain amount of mental slowing down is inevitable as we get older. But what if that's not the whole story?
That's where this research offers a glimmer of hope, right?
Yeah.
If intelligence is about connections, and if those connections are malleable, then maybe there's more we can do to maintain cognitive function as we age.
So instead of just accepting that our brains are going to start declining after a certain point,
right,
we can actively work to keep those neural pathways firing.
Yes.
To keep those connections strong.
Precisely. It's about shifting our mindset from one of decline to one of lifelong learning and growth.
Yeah.
And there's already a lot of research suggesting that activities like learning new languages, playing musical instruments, or even just engaging in social activities can help maintain cognitive function.
It's almost like our brains are like muscles.
Yeah.
That need to be exercised regularly to stay in shape.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It really captures the essence of this research. And, it's not just about preventing decline.
Right.
It's also about maximizing our cognitive potential at any age.
It's like we've been given this incredible gift, this amazing organ that's capable of so much.
Yeah.
But we haven't really been taught how to use it to its full capacity.
And that's the challenge and the opportunity before us, right? To unlock that potential, to explore the frontiers of the human mind. And to use that knowledge to create a better future for ourselves and for generations to come.
This has been a really incredible deep dive.
Yeah.
I feel like I've gained a whole new appreciation for the complexity and the potential of my own brain.
It's been a pleasure exploring this topic with you.
Likewise.
I hope our listeners are feeling inspired to delve deeper into this fascinating field and to discover the incredible power of their own minds.
So until next time, keep those neural pathways firing.